Welcome everyone to more Linux internal live streaming today with this obscure Posix 2013, but also earlier standards. One thing I always knew, namely short reads, because actually turns out count or less than read functions probably eventually should do some programming 101, but you might have heard about read, write and open, read, write, close and stuff, friends and family, and most people here are experts or similar such here anyway. So you may or may not know, if you read, say read 512 bytes, you usually expect to get them unless end of file or there's much left, but did you know that also can randomly return less? Namely, upon successful completion of read where n bytes is greater than 0, read shall mark for update the last data access timestamp of the file. The value returned may be less than n bytes if the number of bytes left in the file is less than n bytes, obviously due. But if read request was interrupted by a signal, or if the file is a pipe or FIFO or special file has fewer than n bytes immediately available for reading. For example, read from a file associated with the terminal may return one typed line of data, or pipe with a compressor, like when your compressor is compressing just the last compressed 317 byte. And so the crazy thing is, why do I talk about this? This wasted like 2 hours this week, like yesterday and the day before yesterday. Also fun stuff I debug at night, because mentioned, maybe you I probably live streams this, also drop frames too. When we tested the musl of alternative C libraries, previous video earlier this year and another year, that randomly failed, and these are these crazy details. Of course I knew that theoretically, but it took like 2 hours for a kind of pseudo expert or so guru meditation at night to actually find why it is happening. Because to show you that, so we have here the newly built sandbox in build x86 musl, and so it's also crazy that it worked for 15 years already. So this freaking code writes standard conformance, right, implementation details and implementation defined behavior and so on, change root in here, and yeah, worked for over 15 years or 17 years or something, this code. And then let's go here to toolchain, newly built packages. Let's mkdir temp here. And then so let's hope we can reproduce this. So root file system like here, and then install, like even bash failed. So yeah, invalid argument. And I think I live streamed this some days ago, like maybe Tuesday or something, beginning of the week. And yeah, you install, you build, you cross compile, you compile your whole Linux distribution, other stuff, and the code worked for, yeah, I think it even worked previously with musl, actually, to be fair. And so yeah, how to debug this, right? It took me like 1 hour. So of course you start like taking all our mine binary here or sources apart, what is happening. And the crazy thing is, why it was so difficult to actually debug that is that normally you would like strace that or so, but look at that, strace log, as then it freaking works, right? It's like, so the worst, in my opinion, the worst Heisenbug I debugged for a long time, because yeah, good luck debugging some things like, yeah, you run a little bit slower with system calls trace. It's like, yeah, which bug? There's not a bug anymore, right? Yeah, so I debugged the usual stuff as seen yesterday on the mini SED stuff I maintain, after 7 years getting to this code, and this code even Claire has written. So I worked with mine quite a bit 15 years ago, but yeah, probably the last time I significantly looked into that maybe a decade ago or something. So yeah, first like 20-30 minutes familiar, then like debugging around there, where could it fail, guru meditation. Yeah, took 2 hours. And so the bug, also let's delete that again. Long story short, I suspected mine. I even suspected, because we fork here. I can show you that. Does it even work with that? We're both at the end. No, it works. So mine are, we have here I actually have here leftovers from last night actually. Anyway, let's use this one. So that is a mine source code. Yeah, C, we got this, and of course nowadays I wouldn't write this in C anymore. And so that is an install, and we fork here depending on what kind of, yeah, also C, right? Beautiful. Yeah, don't get me started on that. But forking here processes for decompression, bcip or others. Nowadays, of course, that's standard. So I actually suspected, I didn't expect it short reads in tar, but yeah, I was debugging this is fork and close and reading, writing. Here's like do, where can this go wrong? I was like guru meditation about the pipe creation here and closing the file descriptors, the unused ends of the pipe. And it's like, yeah, after like 2 hours with my usual Swift style of debugging here, leave in the comments below how fast you would have found that. But so I ended up in libtar, so that is including libtar, as it is also an abandoned project, unfortunately, from someone. The usual, nobody pays for open source, and so they abandoned it. But I ended up in libtar with all the debugging. After like 1 hour, I figured, yeah, it looks okay there in our mine sources. So I ended up like, okay, fine, let's debug there into libtar, what's going on there. And here is somewhere read, tar block read. And so yeah, extracting the tar file. So after another 20 minutes, I ended up here. For I size, actually, this is interesting, decrementing down, decrementing that. So they read here tar block read, and if the read returned here, so k is there int, also yeah, the type is not amazing. I think they used int, right? Yeah, the type is not the most correct, but yeah, C should be s size t or so. I guess s size t, obviously, which may or may not be int, might not be long or whatever. Yeah, read. So if the read, and so like 2 hours later, so that read returned, we can also actually, oh no, we can't strace it because with strace it works. So usually, so tar block size here was 512, and yeah, return 512 often, but then eventually like 317 or so. It's like, yeah, and if that's not a full block, then it's like E invalid, which is actually, do we still have that in scroll back, which as you saw is actually the error code we got here, right? Invalid argument, right? So bin bash invalid argument, it's like, yeah, it came from tar, thank you very much. For explicitly passing that down with error no. I'm not sure if that is the super best style, but that's always they do this. And what made matters worse, it even took like 10 extra minutes of guru meditation, because where was it? Was it in libtar page somewhere? Where was the freaking, or maybe it was source or something of compat configure. Oh, right, I think it was lib and maybe libtar. And so it is not even so straightforward, because you can't, like, also yes, see, we got this right, can't even fix the bug easily due to the way this was written. Because, was it not libtar? No, lib extract. Because here, this block read block here, so this API, so normally you would like easily fix that with, okay, fine, we got less, then okay, then let's like loop until we have the whole block. But yeah, we don't have here in tar block read that once a freaking block, right? You don't have here a size parameter where you could like decrement, like, yes, still give me 163 or so freaking bytes. So yeah, can't easily loop over that there. Thank you very much. And what matters worse is they have here callback functions. So you can give libtar here your own open, close, read, write function set. Also here they use s size t, probably otherwise they would get compiler warnings. So thank you very much for using s size t here, but not in where you use int. But so yeah, you can't even pass this in here because, or even you can't even like easily fix that. Thank you very much for that. Where do we? Ah, right, this was handle. You see, I debugged through that already. This is just a quick summary. So they have here static tar type, t default types, open, close, read, write. So they use this as tar, libtar init if you don't supply any other arguments here of your own set of open, close, read, write functions. And so yeah, they use here directly read, right? So even here, you can't easily fix it. So the way I fixed it is last night, because obviously, right, that's what you do on Friday night. Fixing other people's tar library, what I always wanted to do in so short reads. And so I implemented here in libhandle, and it's like, yeah, then it's just freaking not use read, right? Then use our own read function here. So open, close, and write, we don't need to modify, because if you write something, usually that succeeds. And welcome everyone. And the most important question, what font do I use? Probably that is JetBrains Mono, I think. Do you like it, I guess, as you ask? So yeah, let's define our own read function here. That is wrapping that. If you find a bug in that, please let me know, because our integrity of our Linux distribution currently depends on that. So yeah, this mine, not the greatest love story, our own mine binary package thing. Nowadays, it's just tarballs anyway. Probably sooner than later. I mean, I want to write my own microkernel now, but I guess sooner than later I need to completely rewrite the installation stuff here, because this can't stay in C. And yeah. Anyway, so read function, casting this here for other, because on a void pointer you can't do pointer arithmetic, at least it's undefined in C. And so casting that here, right, because this is C to character pointer buffer where we can freaking do pointer arithmetic on. And then an offset, so while, so offset is 0, right, while we want to read n, while offset is less than n, then I'll freaking read that, read fd buffer plus offset, so we start with 0, so that starts with buffer and n, and if we have like 317, then like buffer plus 317 and n minus 317. If the return values, if we freaking read something, adds this to the offset. If not, and so that is a little bit special case. So if we read something, then fine. Then usually if we read 512, then of course we 512 offsets, then 512 is not less than n, and then we exit, return offset, and we want to return an error as well, right? So this is a little bit special handling, because if we read 0 or -1 for an error, then of course break out of this loop. And special case, if we have not read something, if this is the first read, then set the error code to off, to the offset to return that, just in case it is some error signaling -1 and stuff. And if we read 317 and that is the end of the file, then we just return 317, because then the offset is not 0, we have like 317, so yeah, all the fine details that you need to worry about. If you see bugs in this now or later, let me know. While at it, I also changed here, this was running this, is this a special option for pipe that Claire wrote there? I think she just wrote this because it's a pipe. I thought I'd change this to like just a minus, because it's a bit more standard conforming of -4 just because. And this buffer used to passing stuff around, I increased that. I thought, yeah, nowadays maybe our installation is like some seconds faster if we actually freaking use a 4K buffer. Not that, yeah, this tar, not the most high performance here in libtar. I would think it would probably be a higher performance if this code would be more intelligent here. Also, yeah, abundant library, so much. But pro tip, don't read in 512 tar block size things. Certainly would be much more high performance. If you, I think we could theoretically safely read here more like 4K. That certainly might speed this up quite a bit. But yeah, this is to be rewritten entirely anyway. So this is just one lonely YouTuber's bug fixing and optimization stuff. I've seen someone fork this on GitHub, so this is in the latest, so it's not really maintained. The original authors are non-libtar, it looks to me. We also need to update this sooner in T2, because why not? But someone forked this on GitHub and fixed a tiny little bit, but not that. So libtar is not safe on pipes as seen here. It's just worked accidentally with glibc. So why does it work with glibc? Of course, glibc is implementing buffer handling differently. I didn't bother to try around fiddling. It didn't work instantly to tell musl, hey, like buffer more there or something. So it's safer to have this fixed in any case, especially libtar doesn't know what the front end is passing in there anyway. But yeah, let's also, by the way, how many, so I think the musl build then is relatively complete, except what was it, proc ps there or something. Also accidentally took my wait a second, program not found sh. Do we still have stuff left of x86 musl packages size? How many did I? Why does this not have? Oh, so this was the wrong file. var adm logs of. No, there is no 0 log. Do we? Less in. Do we have like dash and yeah, dash and why does it say some program not found though? Robin has some questions. Never use T2. So I'm not the only developer. Favorite window manager, I don't really care much, just give me freaking terminal. Right now I'm using Sway for Wayland, otherwise 20 years ago I started with IceVM, then GNOME, one something, then KDE3, then eventually got tired of all this ever breaking stuff and just settled with freaking black box. But yeah, don't really care much. Just I'm a simple man. Also I'm a practical man. I just want to get stuff done. Shortly, I used this like 15 year time is freaking running, right? 15 years ago, I also used Compits shortly. This freaking with this 3D spinning cube thing that is also apparently not the most. Actually, that at least looked cool. Because why not? So, do we have, not sure, do we have, there's still something missing? Why does it say SH? Okay, some are, but we should have SH. Why do we not have SH? Only developer. So T2 has a long history. T2 has a 20 plus years history. It started as Rock Linux from Claire Wolf, which I early joined. So I'm with Rock Linux and T2. I also was a Rock Linux stable release maintainer for version 2 20 years ago. But Rock Linux, yeah, as so often people moved on and I continued to do T2. I'm today not the only developer. So in total, I would guess probably in total over 20 years, 1,000 people easily contributed. We had at Rock Linux times probably 20 to 30 active developers. Right now we have probably, I had this T2 a little bit, it was a little bit of a sleeper project of just using it for our stuff here at Xcode and my own personal stuff, like client work, virtual machines and virtualization and fun stuff and embedded stuff. And only the last years we maintained at Xcode, also don't delay, try our amazing Mac OS and stuff, retail product stuff, right? Or hire us for amazing embedded work. But we maintain the core stuff like Linux and command line stuff and glibc and GCC, LVM and all this QEMU, but we neglected KDE and GNOME. Of course, we kept updating Xorg and Xterm and RxVT, Unicode and Blackbox, but not KDE and GNOME. We only, as senior life in this channel, this is so freaking much work. I saved a little bit on that the last decade and now financing this with your YouTube membership, super chats, Patreon, GitHub sponsorship and Patreon and stuff. I finally can freaking work more on that again. Let's create an ISO. Wait a second, we probably want to rebuild while at it. At least LVM, because that probably is large, like 500 megabyte. Should have already started that. Why do you say luckily? I wouldn't say luckily. I mean, compits wasn't. Why do you say luckily? We still have actually the package probably. Maybe we should delete that. Do we have compits? Why do you say luckily? It wasn't even that bad. What is even the new stuff? Does this still exist? Yes, people still pay for the domain. We have here 0880913, probably decade old. Oh, what do we have in? Yeah, this is a, yeah, whatever. All right, let's do something more useful than staring at that. Let's take a look at libtar, because I wanted to update that, but where was even? I think I started to update that already, but it didn't just download because of freaking git toasting. So that would be something like that here, but even that is up and done, where there is a slightly newer GitHub. Maybe I should actually, so the reason I wanted to package it from here is that this looks a little bit more, well, a little bit, yeah, I mean, it's, yeah, soon a decade up and done. Maybe I should actually directly take it from GitHub. There at least download also freaking works. What time do we have? Maybe we should start a new live stream. Yeah, so that is basically that attention to detail, right? And it's a little bit, yeah, this kind of bugs annoy me a little bit. I mean, sure, it's spelled out here in the standard, but how many people read that? And even if people develop a library, even somewhat externally used, like libtar, stuff random, some of the verbs were randomly failing. Even, I mean, sure, it worked accidentally for them and us, even for us like 17, 18 years, probably. Which is a crazy thing. Also, this is the same kernel, right? It's the same Linux kernel and just another library. Of course, glibc apparently has some surrounding different buffer handling. And maybe this musl is even, yeah, sure, musl is more lightweight, a little bit more standard conformant or strict to the standard. And it's of course lightweight, right? It could even be performance, like this behavior. You might wonder, why do they do that? It could result in better latency, right? That's why you have this on a pipe also. And instead of waiting for some buffering, this of course, like immediately returning what is available, is a little bit decreases latency and interactivity potentially. So let's see. Thoughts into Ubuntu snaps, not really, because it was not a good experience. Very buggy, cool idea though. Well, it worked for me. Didn't really have too many bugs, at least with my exterms there on a couple of exterms on this compits. So let's see. Also, oh wow, drop frames. Thank you very much. Bitrate decreased. Is this a person? Yeah, I think this is what I saw yesterday already. Someone also posted, Dr. Schubert posted on Discord. So the last commit is even not that old here. Rep, what is that? Append something. Did they tag something, or is the last tag to? Yeah, so the last tag is 2000. I mean, at least from here we can download this. It doesn't really help us that much in terms of further fixes they have done since then. I should also check our automatically generated dependencies. Archive. How was it? Was it directly archive 1 to 20 or so? Yep, let's build that. It doesn't fix our bug, and this mine we're using bundled libtar anyway, which is also not ideal, but before I fix that, also this doesn't compile, amazing. Although probably it needs maybe autogen, because it's direct source export. Yeah, Robin had asked thoughts on Ubuntu and Snap. Don't have too many thoughts on that. What are your thoughts on that? If you have any. Yeah, so does it want, yeah, it wants auto gen. Let's see if that, I don't like the export style, but that's all we get in. It's better hope that auto gens also should. Let's see if anything on my system uses it even. No. Why do we have that then? Also maybe something uses that. Let's package. Wow, nothing uses libtar. What? Wow, that is a surprise. Also, given that it's config h. Thank you very much. This is why. Okay, fine. Not wasting my time for something nothing uses anyway. So then that is it. That's probably that for the summary. I hope you learned something, especially attention to detail, right? You always, even for trivial and straightforward, how many words, main page of quite some words here in this Posix standard. But yeah, even something as simple as read can have hidden surprises, and this is, yeah, unfortunately what I would actually say what each developer should know, but then even like yesterday or the other day with TempFS, right? Each developer, or each Linux user should know, or developers, this admin should know, but then 15 years later, you also don't expect such full system deadlock anymore. So yeah, so much to should know, and then you forget eventually after 15 years. Anyway, hope you learned something. I'll probably live stream again in some minutes, trying to test this musl ISO, and fingers crossed that finally works.